Hello and welcome to another episode of The Losers Win Again. I am your host, Jacob Brown, and we are here for DraftKings Top 5 Stacks Week 2. It's just a couple days away, guys, and we got some interesting stacking options for this slate. So, before we get to the big games here, let's talk about the importance of stacking real fast. Stacking is vital in daily fantasy football. Stacking is a strategy where you roster two or more players from the same team with the hopes that the players from those teams have a strong offense and will help you reach big numbers. The best way to know what games to stack is looking for high point game totals. Run back options from the opposite team is a must to succeed in tournaments. Yeah, I can't harp on that enough. If you're doing a stack, you have to have a run back option to be viable, in my opinion, especially in GPPs. Cash, you don't have to as much, but in tournaments, it's a must. Here's my two favorite kinds of stacks. There's a 3v1 stack, which I think is most vital. It's where you have a quarterback and two pass catchers, wide receiver, tight end, or running back, with one pass catcher, wide receiver, tight end, or running back from the opposing team. And then you get your super stack of 3v2, which could be quarterback and two pass catchers, wide receiver, tight end, running back, with two pass catchers from the opposing team, wide receiver, tight end, and running back. And then something that's also very critical is a 1v1 stack within your 3v1 or 3v2 stack. For instance, you really like the Cowboys and Chargers stack this week, so you go ahead and stack Dak and Cooper and Lamb and run it back with Austin Eckler. But you also really like the Seahawks game, so you got to get some options there. So you pick Gerald Everett and Chris Carson's for your mini stack. Just little things like that really go a long way, especially when you're looking at the over-unders. You want to attack high game point totals. But overall, this advice here will improve your success in large fields and single entry GPPs. But yeah, enough of that. Let's go ahead and get to the games. And the first one is my favorite on the week. We got Cowboys at Chargers. Chargers are 3-point favorites, and the highest over-under on the Sunday main slate is 55. Guys, this is going to be a great game environment. Two pass-heavy teams. Should be a good one. Let's go over these stacking options. Now, I like both sides of this game, but Chargers are favorites, so I went ahead and put Charger stacking options and the Cowboys as the run back option. But I like both sides of this team. I'll have both Dak and Justin Herbert. We'll go over Dak a little bit more in the next video where we break down position by position. But as of right now, we're going with Justin Herbert as the key stacking option. And Justin Herbert just really comes off on the projections as a great quarterback to play. His pass catchers fit in very good with what we're trying to do when we're trying to build a lineup. And here's some more of his stacking options. You get Austin Eckler at 7,300. It's really a toss-up between him and wide receiver Keenan Allen at 7K, who you really like the most. You'll probably end up putting these two in the flex when you're stacking with Justin Herbert running back with Dallas. But Yeah, it's really a toss up. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be Austin Eckler. He just projects a little higher and helps the lineups work out a little bit better. Mike Williams, 6,100 is a pretty big price for Mike Williams, but he's definitely going to be an option. He scored a touchdown last week against the Washington football team. Had a pretty good game. The price boosted up a little bit. I expect to have some of them, but not as much as these first two guys. Then we get to wide receiver Jalen Guyton. Not really sold on him, but in a 3v1 stack, he's a cheap option to get you to some of these more expensive Dallas guys and other players on your roster. He had a pretty good week last week as well. Definitely somebody I'm interested in. And lastly, Jared Cook. He just projects out well in the projections that we have. Projected to score 10 points, and I could see him do a lot more than that. We got to remember how much Justin Herbert favored Hunter Henry last year, and Jared Cook's just taking that role over. I could definitely see Jared Cook increase in price week by week just by the usage he's going to get from Justin Herbert. I really like these options for stacking. So let's go ahead and look at those run back options for the Cowboys. And the run back options are pretty simple here. We got the usual suspects in Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. Guys, look, they're all both very good. I think I'm going to be favoring CeeDee Lamb a little bit more this week just because of the price difference, 400 less. He projects out better when you're building a lineup in the projections. As of right now, CeeDee Lamb is my favorite out of the two. And now we get to Cedric Wilson at 3,100. Look, guys, no Michael Gallup this week, which means Cedric Wilson is taking over as the third receiver on this team, and he's really underpriced, possibly the best value on the whole entire slate. If it goes our way, definitely will be rostering him at this price. Definitely gets you to the more expensive options on the slate. Great pricing option. But a pivot off of that is tight end Dalton Schultz, 3,300. He projects out well this week. And just because Michael Gallup's out doesn't automatically mean Cedric Wilson is going to be taking all the passes that Michael Gallup would have got. Guys like Dalton Schultz could see an increase in targets. Zeke Elliott could see an increase in targets. I really like Zeke this week. After him coming off a really hard week last week, the price dropped insanely at 6,200. This is probably the cheapest we're going to see him all year. Definitely got to take advantage of that. Like I said, Michael Gallup out. These three guys, Cedric Wilson, Dalton Schultz, and Ezekiel Elliott, could all see an increase in targets. And someone else to mention that I probably won't be rostering a lot, but I might roster a little bit is Blake Jarwin. He was formerly the starting tight end last year before he hurt himself when they played the Rams, first game of the year last year. He could get a little bit involved in this passing offense as well. And he's 3,100. So those are three guys to keep an eye out and mix in and out with CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper. Now, we got the Titans at the Seahawks with an over-under of 54. This was originally on Monday. This was supposed to be the highest game total, but things have shifted a little bit, and now it's 54 over-under for the Seahawks and Titans. You got the Seahawks favored 5.5 points, which is something we want to see. I'm real excited about this game. I was real excited about the Cardinals and Titans game last week. I thought that was going to be the game of the week. It kind of disappointed. Kyler Murray just took over with Chandler Jones just crushing the souls of the Tennessee Titans. But I think it's going to be a little different this week, and I'm willing to bet on the Titans side to make this a competitive game. And the Seahawks just looked great last week. Tyler Lockett just went off the charts. Russell Wilson played well. DK Metcalf played well. But let's go ahead and get into these stacking options for the Seahawks. I really like the Seahawks this week. Russell Wilson, 7,500. He's priced where he should be after the game he had last week against the Colts. He can run, he can throw, and he's got some great passing options in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Look, guys, these guys took turns in having like slate-breaking weeks last year, early in the season. Tyler Lockett did it last week, so I really think DK Metcalf's going to have a big week this week. I can really see that being the case. If you had to tell me to pick between the two, DK Metcalf would definitely be where I go. Which doesn't put me down on Tyler Lockett very much. I mean, Tyler Lockett's a good player, and he can definitely go off at any given day. So just keep an eye on these two. And ownership, whichever one's the highest owned, probably get more of the other guy. Then we get to Gerald Everett at 3,600, who had a great day last week as well. Got a touchdown. They didn't price him up very much, which is good because you can stack him with DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett, one or the other, and have a pretty cheap stack, which is something we want to see. Definitely someone I'm going to again this week. Great pricing for Gerald Everett. Now we move on to Freddie Swain and Dwayne Eskridge. I want to pair these two together just due to the fact that the Eskridge 3K questionable with a concussion. He was getting involved early in the game last week and got a concussion, so something to keep an eye out on for injury reports to see if he's going to play or not. But if he doesn't, Freddie Swain is a good cheap option to stack with DK or Tyler Lockett to get to those expensive stacking run back options we're getting ready to talk about. Yeah, guys, this is who I like for the Seahawks stacking options. And this is something I'm going to have pretty heavy in week 2. So I really like the Titans run back options here, and I'm definitely willing to take a bet that they bounce back this week after a terrible week last week. 6,900 for A.J. Brown is right where we want him. Julio Jones at 6,300. I don't even think I remember the last time I saw Julio Jones this cheap. Definitely somebody I want involved in next week or in week 2. 6,300 for Julio Jones, same price. Definitely someone to keep an eye out on. He didn't play very well. He still got targeted 6 times. He caught the ball for 2 receptions. Can't remember how many yards off the top of my head, but it just wasn't very good. A.J. Brown salvaged his day with a touchdown close to the end of the game. Not very much out from either one of those two. And then Anthony Fersker, he did okay. I mean, he caught 1 pass. He went up. He's the only receiver or pass catcher that went up in price on the slate this week. He was 3,200 last week, 3,400 this week. And even Derrick Henry, he's going to be a great run back option at that price, 8,300. He's one of those guys that has off and on weeks. But it's not December yet. So maybe it's not a good idea to play him, but no, I'm just kidding. In my opinion, he's going to be a good play this week at 8,300. For run back option purposes, I will make him a priority. First, it's going to go A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, then Derrick Henry, then Anthony Fersker. But I like this game as a whole. Definitely going to roster some of it. Not sure if I'll get to it in my single entries. But definitely something I want to get to. Now we move on to the Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The over-under is 52, and the Buccaneers are heavy favorites at 12.5. I really want some of this game, and we're going to go over these stacking options right here, right now. First, we start off with quarterback Tom Brady at 6,900. I'm not sure how much I'm going to get of Tom Brady this week. He's coming out pretty big in the projections, but I like Herbert and Dak at the similar price range. So I don't know how much I'm going to get of Tom Brady at this price point, but he is coming out well in the projections. He is coming out well when you're building lineups, building stacks. So we'll see when we get there. Next is Chris Godwin. So hold on here. We got Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Antonio Brown. Those are the three big key guys. Godwin's $500 more than Evans and $600 more than Antonio Brown. I'm not saying that you should make this a priority, but I am going to prioritize Mike Evans and Antonio Brown more than Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin will be my lowest owned receiver out of these three going into the week. The prices are just a little wonky. Mike Evans didn't really have a good game against Dallas. He didn't really need to. I mean, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Gronk, all those guys were just putting in work. Mike Evans didn't really have to do much last week. He was a good decoy last week, but I see that being different this week. And Mike Evans is just too cheap. In a game where they're 12.5 point favorites, you better expect there's going to be some scoring with a 52 over-under. Keep an eye on ownership with this game as well. I can definitely see people getting onto the Mike Evans train and the Antonio Brown train. After what Antonio Brown did last week, Antonio Brown looks like the receiver of old that played in Pittsburgh. Tom Brady's just making him look amazing. But as of right now, I'm gonna go with my entrances as Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, then Chris Godwin. Then Gronk at 4,700. I think it's a little too expensive for him. I don't know if I can see him popping off the way he did last week against the Cowboys. Definitely a valid option, but I just don't see him popping off in a big way. I will have a little bit of him, but I'm going to prioritize the wide receivers before I get to Gronk. Now we move to the Falcons run back options. They're real condensed this week with being Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, and Kyle Pitts. Calvin Ridley and Russell Gage went down in pricing, which is well deserved after having a pretty lackadaisical week 1 against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm interested in these guys. These are the only guys I'm going to run back with Tampa Bay. I'm a little interested in Matt Ryan and my big 150 max lineups. Not sure if I'll get there just yet. We got to watch some ownership and see some news go our way. But as of right now, I got a little interest. Somebody I do like, though, out of the three is Kyle Pitts at 5,200. He's going to go overlooked in a big way, in my opinion. After not having a big game, after being high owned, now he's going up in price. I can see people being real iffy on wanting to play him, and I'm willing to go back to him in a big way week 1. Definitely someone I like and someone I'm going to want to roster. Now we move on to the Minnesota Vikings at Arizona Cardinals. Over under 51. The Cardinals are 4.5 point favorites. And honestly, I can see this total come up a little bit and Cardinals be favored a little bit more as the week goes on. Just due to the fact that the Cardinals just look head over heels better than a lot of offenses in the league right now. And the Vikings were struggling against a guy like Joe Burrow. What makes you think they're going to play any better against a guy like Kyler Murray, who could very possibly be the MVP this year if he continues his level of play he has? So keep an eye on this line movement and see if Vegas favors Arizona a little more going into the week. But either way, we're going to stack this game. Love these stacking options. Arizona stacking options are pretty simple, guys. DeAndre Hopkins at 8K, Chase Edmonds at 4,900. Those are probably my favorite two pairs because Chase Edmonds is pretty cheap. He projects out well this week with like 12.9 fantasy points. We saw Kyler get him involved. I really like that. And then Christian Kirk. Remember in last week's video, we came out and said Christian Kirk was going underlooked. And that came to be true as he was the second best receiver on that team last week, and his price point now shows that he is the valid number 2 option. So you're going to have to get to him a little bit. And then AJ Green, he had 2 catches for 6 targets, which is something I like to see, especially at this price point. 6 targets will get you there, and he'll more than likely be able to catch more than he doesn't on most weeks. So I think he's my second favorite wide receiver option out of this core group at this price point. But Rondale Moore could very easily sneak up and be that second favorite option. He had a pretty good game. I think he ended the day with like 10.8 DraftKings points. He got like 4 catches for 60 yards. Great performance by him for his rookie debut, and I think they're going to get him more involved as the weeks progress. Keep an eye on ownership with these 3, Christian Kirk, AJ Green, and Rondale Moore, and you'll get a better idea of where you should go. But as of right now, I think AJ Green is the best option out of the 3 to roster with DeAndre Hopkins. But I'm prioritizing Chase Edmonds and DeAndre Hopkins stacks for week 1. Now we get to the Vikings run back options. We start out with Dalvin Cook at 9,100. He just looks good, guys. He's going to be a little overlooked too because you got guys like Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara ahead of him. He got it done for you late last week. He was only sitting at about 11.5 DraftKings points until he got in the end zone late in the third or fourth quarter. I can definitely see him being the odd man out with the big 3 of Kamara and McCaffrey. So that's someone I want to keep an eye out on whenever we're rostering and looking at ownership. Now we move on to Justin Jefferson at 7,400. Adam Thielen was the guy last week. I can definitely see Justin Jefferson fighting back. Look, guys, Arizona has a terrible secondary. If you can get past their front 7 and get to a wide receiver, it's going to be magical. I think Justin Jefferson is going to be that guy this week. Great option for week 2. Adam Thielen could very well just be the same Adam Thielen he was last week against his secondary as well. I'm not ruling that out. But as of right now, Justin Jefferson looks to be one of the biggest bounce back plays of the week, in my opinion. Definitely like both of them, though, and I will be playing them both in run back options for the Cardinals. Then we get to Tyler Conklin. He's a decent cheap option. If you need a cheap option to run back with the expensive Arizona stack, not someone I'm really prioritizing, but if I have to, I will get there. But yeah, really like this game. Could end up being the best game on the week if the Dallas game or the Seattle game Just doesn't do what we expected, kind of like week 1. I could definitely see this game being up there as one of the best to stack. Now we move on to San Francisco 49ers at the Philadelphia Eagles. The 49ers are 3.5-point favorites, and the Eagles are at home with the over-under of 50. I'm not really understanding why this game total is so high. Jalen Hurts looked pretty good against Atlanta last week, but I mean, that's Atlanta. You're facing a team like San Francisco, who's just head over heels better than the Eagles, head over heels better than the Falcons. I just don't know how this game's going to go, but I am interested in some stacking options on the Philadelphia side. Jalen Hurts at 6,500 is just way too cheap, guys. With his ability on the ground and his passing capability, he's just a great option this week. And his stacking options are pretty cheap as well. Devontae Smith went up from 4,500 to 5,400. He's just a great play. I can definitely see him still getting there in DraftKings points at 5,400 if he continues to progress in the target tree with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Reagor, another great option at 4,100. Definitely somebody I'm going to roster in these stacking options. Then you get Dallas Goedert versus Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is listed as questionable. I don't know if that's just a cautionary thing and he'll end up playing this week. We got to stick to injury news as the week progresses. We'll get into that a little bit more on my final thoughts video that drops on Saturdays. But as of right now, Dallas Goedert looks to be the guy if Zach Ertz can't go. If Zach Ertz does go, I will get a little bit of both of them, but I think I'll still favor Goddard a little bit. Now we get to the 49ers run back options, and honestly, I think Deebo Samuel is like extremely overpriced at 6,700. With a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo throwing the ball to him, I just don't see that being a good price for him. But if you're playing this stack, you got to have run back options, and you got to like Deebo Samuel a little bit if you're wanting to stack this game. So I will have some, but I think I'll favor Brandon Ayuk at the cheaper 5,500 over Samuel. Brandon Ayuk is on the injury report right now, which is another thing we need to keep an eye on. But it looks like, in my opinion, I think he'll end up playing. I think that's more of a precautionary thing, but we'll see. And then George Kittle, really disappointed last week. So I can definitely see Kittle come back into people's lineups this week. There's no Travis Kelce on the slate. Darren Waller is pretty expensive. So Kittle could be a go-to option. Look, if we liked Kyle Pitts so much against the Eagles last week, why wouldn't we like George Kittle, who's a proven talent at tight end against the Eagles? So I think out of the Samuel, Ayuk, and Kittle, I'm favoring Kittle out of those three, and I'm going to prioritize him a lot against the Eagles. And then you get to the cheap run back option of Eli Mitchell. Yeah, guys, he's 5K. He looks to get a pretty solid workload. We got to keep some eyes on Trey Sermon, though. I could definitely see Kyle Shanahan just becoming the next Bill Belichick of running backs, and it could be a different flavor every week with the running back position in San Francisco. So definitely caution your ownership on Eli Mitchell, but he could be a solid play. We just got to wait and see. And that pretty much wraps it up, guys. Those are the stacks that I like, the top 5. We'll delve into a little bit more of which quarterbacks I'm stacking when we get to the final thoughts video. But as of right now, I am your host, Jacob Brown. And if you like this video and you feel like you got some knowledge from this content, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell so you can get alerted every time I drop a video. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.